Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have been watching the beautiful, tragic, and utterly captivating lives of the residents of Port Charles for more years than I can even begin to count. And I have to tell you, the drama they are cooking up for us this August has me sitting right on the edge of my seat. The summer heat is always a recipe for explosive secrets and devastating betrayals, but the storm that is currently brewing on our television screens is something else entirely. We have watched these characters grow from young, naive dreamers into fierce, complicated women who will do absolutely anything to protect their families. The unfolding saga between Willow Kane and Jacinda Bracken is escalating into a hurricane of epic proportions, and my goodness, it is a story we simply must unpack together. Let us take a quiet moment to really think about Willow Kane and the incredible journey she has been on. Bless her heart, she has truly been through the ringer over the years. We all remember her as that incredibly sweet, soft-spoken young woman who just wanted peace, harmony, and a safe place to raise her children. But life in a town like this, especially when you find yourself hopelessly tangled up in the massive, overbearing dynamics of the Quartermain and Kane families, has a way of hardening even the gentlest of souls. Recently, we saw her boldly secure a powerful seat on the General Hospital Board of Directors, a move that ruffled more than a few feathers and absolutely infuriated Tracy Quartermain. That bold step showed us a completely different side of Willow, a fiercely ambitious and protective side. She is no longer the timid girl who will just sit back and let people walk all over her. She has developed a spine of absolute steel, and when she is backed into a corner, she comes out swinging with everything she has. Speaking of being backed into a dangerous corner, we have to look back at the messy, complicated history she shares with her mother, Nina Reeves. Those two women have a terrible, almost magnetic habit of jumping right out of the frying pan and straight into the blazing fire. Just recently, they barely managed to scrape their way out of a very dark and twisted situation involving Drew Kane. Poor Drew has been slowly recovering and regaining his mobility, and there was a very real, terrifying fear, especially from observant folks like Kai Taylor, that Willow might take drastic, unthinkable measures to permanently silence Drew and protect her hidden secrets. They only managed to keep their heads above water and avoid utter ruin thanks to the brilliant, strategic mind of Jack Brennan. You would naturally think that after such a terrifyingly close call, Willow and Nina would desperately want to keep their noses clean and live quietly, but trouble just seems to follow them around like a dark, inescapable shadow. And that brings us to the absolute tornado that is Jacinda Bracken. Now, Jacinda and Willow have never exactly seen eye to eye, to put it mildly. They have had their fair share of heated, bitter arguments and glaring matches that could freeze hot coffee, but the spoilers for the week of August 3rd through the 7th suggest that Jacinda is about to cross a line that you simply cannot ever uncross. I have to say, when I first heard what Jacinda is planning to do, my jaw nearly hit the floor. She is not just playing a harmless, childish prank or spreading a little nasty neighborhood gossip. No, she is planning something deeply sinister, cruel, and underhanded, something that could completely destroy Willow's life, her freedom, and her hard-earned reputation at the hospital. According to the latest whispers from the set, Jacinda is going to maliciously orchestrate a horrible setup by planting a small bag of illegal drugs right on Willow. Can you even begin to imagine the sheer audacity of such a move? It is the kind of dirty, low-down trick that makes you madder than a wet hen just thinking about it. For a proud, determined woman like Willow, who has fought tooth and nail through sickness and heartbreak to secure her prestigious position on the hospital board and build a respectable, loving life for her family, having drugs planted on her is not just a petty insult. It is a direct, violent threat to her freedom and, most importantly, to her children. It is a calculated, malicious attempt to tear down every single thing she has built, and it is a move that is guaranteed to ignite a massive powder keg of rage deep inside Willow's soul. Now, I know we all like to think of Willow as a calm, reasonable person who thinks before she acts, but heaven help the foolish woman who threatens a devoted mother's livelihood and family. It is not going to take very long for Willow to connect the scattered dots and realize exactly who is responsible for this wicked, life-ruining scheme. The very moment she figures out that Jacinda is the one pulling the malicious strings, all bets are going to be completely off. We have seen Willow act impulsively and recklessly before when she is pushed to her absolute physical and emotional limit and this time the stakes are higher and more terrifying than they have ever been. Jacinda is playing a very dangerous, foolish game of Russian roulette, and she has absolutely no idea that the barrel is fully loaded and pointing right at her own chest. When these two furious women finally come face to face, the tension in the room is going to be thick enough to cut with a butcher knife. I can just vividly picture the terrifying scene in my mind's eye. There will be no loud, dramatic screaming matches right away, just a cold, paralyzing silence as Willow steps up to confront the woman who actively tried to ruin her entire existence. The air in the room will feel impossibly heavy, suffocating even, as years of quiet resentment and fresh, boiling anger bubble violently to the surface. Jacinda might foolishly think she holds all the winning cards, flashing that smug, self-satisfied look that we all love to hate, but she is severely underestimating the sheer, unbridled force of a desperate, cornered mother. This is not going to be a simple slap on the wrist or a tearful, dramatic argument. This is going to be a brutal, primal battle for survival. And this is exactly where things are expected to take a truly terrifying, irreversible turn. As the confrontation inevitably escalates, from harsh glares to aggressive movements, physical boundaries are going to be violently crossed. We have all seen how a simple, angry shove or a desperate, flailing grab can turn fatal in the blink of an eye in a town like Port Charles. Jacinda is pushing Willow far past the point of no return, and it is incredibly easy to imagine Willow completely losing her grip on reality and control. In a sudden moment of blinding rage, Willow might lash out with everything she has, leading to a catastrophic, deadly accident or even a deliberate, shocking act of violence. The chilling thought of Willow actually taking Jacinda's life is hard to swallow, but given the incredibly dark, twisted path she has been walking lately, it is a very real, very tragic possibility. Jacinda is happily skating on the absolute thinnest of ice, and she is about to plunge headfirst into freezing, deadly waters. If the unthinkable truly happens and Jacinda ends up lifeless on the floor, the immediate aftermath is going to be a scene of absolute, heart-wrenching chaos. Imagine the sheer, suffocating panic washing over Willow as the red haze of her anger slowly fades and she realizes the horrifying, permanent reality of what her hands have just done. Her hands will be shaking uncontrollably, her heart pounding completely out of her chest, the walls of the room closing in around her like a vice. In that singular moment of utter crushing desperation, a girl only wants one person in the entire world, her mother. Willow is going to make a frantic, breathless, tear-soaked phone call to Nina, delivering the kind of devastating news that would make any mother's blood run completely cold in her veins. Nina Reeves, bless her complicated heart, is a woman who loves fiercely, protectively, and completely without condition. When she receives that terrifying call from her weeping daughter, her maternal protective instincts are going to kick into absolute overdrive. Nina certainly knows a thing or two about making terrible, life-altering mistakes and desperately trying to sweep them under the rug. But dealing with a dead body is a whole different, terrifying ballgame. She is going to be in an absolute state of sheer panic, pacing the floors, her mind racing a mile a minute as she tries to figure out how on earth to save her precious child from spending the rest of her natural life behind cold iron bars. And in her darkest, most desperate hour, Nina is going to turn to the one man who has recently proven he can handle the gritty, dangerous, dirty work. Jack Brennan. Over these past few thrilling weeks, we have watched Nina and Brennan grow incredibly close, forming a bond that is as strategic as it is emotional. They have been quietly strategizing together, sharing heavy secrets, and slowly building a foundation that is inching closer and closer to a genuine, passionate romance. Brennan has quickly become Nina's closest, most trusted confidant, her solid rock in the middle of a raging storm. But even a man as seasoned, tough, and worldly as Brennan might have to pause for a moment and wonder just how far gone Nina and Willow really are. I mean, you have to ask yourself, how many times can one family desperately need help covering up massive, life-altering crimes before you start to seriously question their sanity? It is enough to make anyone's head spin right off their shoulders. However, we absolutely cannot forget the deep, abiding sense of loyalty and profound gratitude Brennan feels toward Nina. We all remember that she bravely saved him when he was at his lowest point at Turning Woods, and a rugged, honorable man like Jack Brennan simply does not forget a life-saving debt like that. His growing affection for Nina runs incredibly deep, and when push inevitably comes to shove, he is going to step right up to the plate for her. I fully expect Brennan to take complete charge of this horrific, bloody situation. He has the unique skills, the connections, and the cold, calculating mind desperately needed to quietly dispose of Jacinda's body or meticulously stage the gruesome scene to look like a tragic, unavoidable accident or a heartbreaking suicide. It is grim, it is incredibly dark, and it is morally questionable, but it is exactly the kind of gripping, emotional storytelling that keeps us glued to our television screens year after year, decade after decade. I will be watching every single second of this tragedy unfold, holding my breath and praying for our girls. And I know as sure as the sun rises that all of you will be right there watching with me.